I'm so excited to share to all of you another interesting lesson. This is Sir Jem Antonio, and I will be your teacher broadcaster for the MAPEH Grade 9. So settle down, set your mind, find a place where it can't be disturbed because we're about to begin. Our lesson for this day is based on the most essential learning competency, in which the learner relates medieval, Renaissance, Baroque music to other art forms and its history within the era. Our discussions will help expound your knowledge pertaining to the characteristics of early Western music. So with that, you will learn how is music directly relevant to other art forms such as visual, literature, performing, and multidisciplinary art. Let's identify our objectives for today. First, identify other art forms related to medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music. Second, discuss the features of medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music related to other art forms. And third, manifest appreciation in medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music through related arts and create an output about visual art form. The three periods in the history of Western music are the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque, each of them possessing unique characteristics with respective historical and cultural backgrounds. These images are some of the art forms that existed in the three periods. Whenever you're in a bad mood and you suddenly hear your favorite lively song, do you feel a sudden change of mood? That's because music can make us feel better, and it is an essential part of our life. An art that stimulates our hearing. The history of Western music explores the development of Western European music from its earliest traceable roots during Middle Ages through the Renaissance and Baroque periods. As Europe emerged from the Dark Ages, it was the church that made advances in music, the Gregorian chants. The Renaissance was also an age of individualism and curiosity. Music became leisure activity in this period, and most of the upper class were expected to have trainings in music. The grand and elaborate ornamentations of different art forms were characterized during the Baroque period. The early Western music, which is sophisticated, diverse, and entertaining, led to classical, romantic, and modern eras. Music and the arts during the medieval period. During the Dark Ages, the fall of the Roman Empire, wherein the idea of visual art is something that can be seen and music is something to be heard. Composers and artists were unknown in this period. The music was monophonic, having one sound, single line, plain chant, transmitted orally in 7th century. As to the relationship between the music and painting, painting was at the time also successive composition in single line. All are represented in a flat two-dimensional space without any pictorial depth and no expression. Medieval sculpture also did not follow correct proportions like the medieval music. It's free-flowing. The dimensions seemed distorted, the upper body too long in comparison to the knees and the legs. The binary concepts expressed in medieval music and the painting find their equivalent in medieval literature. In morality tales, where the protagonists are either simply good or simply evil with no psychological depth and no evolutionary change during the course of the story. Music and the arts during Renaissance period. The idea of arts in this period, Renaissance experienced a remarkable change and renewal. It is the looking back to the golden age of Greece and Rome. During the Renaissance, music became polyphonic. Polyphonic having two or more melodic lines, leaving the linearity of the plain chant monophony of the Middle Ages. The tonic triad centers the musical composition equal in freedom and authority, weaving together creates a musical unity. One of the most significant achievements of the time in music and painting is the transition from successive to simultaneous composition. In painting, the classical triangle, just as the tonic triad in music, centers the image on the canvas, wherein we can draw imaginary triangle in the image and consist of three figures. The light within the painting is evenly distributed, leaving nothing in the dark. Painting found its depth so that the viewers could perceive the painting as if they were looking through a window into three-dimensional space, or emphasize the modern three-dimensionality of their work. In this period, painting and music found their equivalent in the literature of time, where protagonists find psychological depth. Subject matter including religious subjects, portraits of wealthy patrons, or royalty and Greek mythology. Music and the arts during Baroque period. The Baroque period began toward the end of 16th century, reached into the middle of the 18th century, and is generally seen as the art of counter-reformation. The church had lost a very large number of its believers and needed to reform itself. Power, action, and movement were valued in this era. In music, especially in that of the greatest of Baroque composers, Johann Sebastian Bach, the new arts of harmony and color come into being. A polarity of voices develops in this period. The melodies sound elaborate and ornamental. The contrast between loud and soft, fast and slow, monophony and polyphony in Baroque music is much related to the contrast in light from the dark, using a source emanating from outside the painting's frame, creating both focus and tension in the work, such as portrait of Rembrandt and Caravaggio. The heavily decorated Baroque churches using drastic colors and elaborate ornamentation just like the Baroque music. Baroque composers believed music was their tool for communicating emotions, which gave rise to the opera during this time. Most themes of the Baroque drama contained strong emotional content, subject matter including religious subjects as well, but also people of all classes, the rich and the poor, in realistic settings. To summarize, let's have our recap. Music and arts during the medieval period. Music and painting that time was two-dimensional space, single line and without depth. Music and sculptures also do not follow the correct proportions like the free-flowing medieval music. During Renaissance period, music and the painting used classical triangle just as the tonic triad in music. Light is evenly distributed, three-dimensional space so that viewers could perceive almost as if they were looking through a window. Music and painting found their equivalent in the literature of the time, where protagonists find psychological depth. During Baroque period, melodies sounded elaborated and ornamented just like the drastic color and ornamentation in architecture. In painting, the dynamic contrast, or loud and soft, of their music was evident between light and dark. In performance art, the composers believed that music is the most powerful tool for expressing one's feeling, which gave rise of the orchestra and the performers displayed strong emotion. So that's it for today. I hope you have learned a lot. This has been Sir Jem Antonio, your teacher broadcaster. God bless!